am dressed head to toe in shades of blue. My pronouns are he and him. We're going to get into the spirit of celebration today by singing a few hymns that you probably know pretty well. We're going to start with hymn number 318 from the Gray hymnal, We Would Be One, set to Jean Sibelius's wonderful Finlandia. I believe lyrics will be posted on the screen as well. Please rise in body or in spirit and let us sing hymn number 318, We Would Be One. To the teal hymnal for our next hymn, number 1010, We Give Thanks. We're going to stay standing because, well, we're going to be sitting a whole long time in this hymn. And now we continue with hymn number 1028, also in the teal, Jason Shelton's The Fire of Commitment. That's good. You may be seated.
Let us begin by recognizing the Tamian and Muwekma Ohlone, the indigenous peoples, who were the first humans to inhabit and sustain this land thousands of years before settler colonizers arrived. We honor the resilience of these indigenous peoples in the face of devastating harm. Dear members, friends, and honored guests, welcome to this special occasion to celebrate a new chapter in the life of this congregation. We are here to mark the installation of Reverend Matthew Michael McHale as the called minister of the First Unitarian Church of San Jose. Yeah. My name is Julia Rodriguez, and my pronouns are she, her. It is lovely to see so many faces, new and old, here today. I invite you to put your phones in worship mode if you haven't done so already. In our tradition, an installation is more than a formal ceremony. It is a covenantal moment, a time when minister and congregation make sacred promises to one another. So let us enter into this service in the true spirit of the mission of this congregation. Bound together by our commitment to making love visible, we gather to deepen our spirits, to work for justice, and to create one sacred family. And may this be a celebration not just of one person or one moment, but the journey we are taking together. And now, please rise, embody your spirit, and join in singing our processional hymn, Wake Now My Senses, as our religious professionals process in. We'll be singing verses 1, 3, 4, and 5. But this is my favorite part.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth
A call to worship is secretly a call to focus our attention. And choosing to focus our attention these days is countercultural. Daily, we are called to worship at the altar of many devices. Surveillance systems that we let take lead over our every waking moment. We are called by headlines that seek only our activation and the gamification of every human connection. We are not called, we are led, we are not led, we are dragged. But instead here, we practice being called. We are being called to bring our attention to the altar of unpredictable human relatedness. We are called by these ancestors and that wood and this room's particular light. We will be called by this chalice's fire and these children. We are called to focus all our attention on a foolhardy, open-hearted commitment to share a future together that we cannot cancel or control. In the words of the poet Wendell Berry, we are doing something today that does not compute. This does not compute, and therefore it is trustworthy. So, Spirit of our every attention, here. Bring us collectively to this precise moment, the threshold between then and now. The moment upon which we hang our best promises like portraits, chiseled and framed by hand, imperfectly and together. Come, let us worship together.
We light this chalice with the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of service.
Please join me in saying the affirmation of this congregation. You'll find it on the screen and on the order of service. It is also inscribed in many of our hearts. We say it in English and in Spanish as a symbol of the many languages spoken in this community and beyond, the many languages of the soul. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls may grow into harmony with the divine. This do we covenant with one another. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia, la búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento, y el servicio es su oración. Habitar juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con libertad, y servir a la humanidad juntos, con el fin de que todas las almas puedan crecer en armonía con lo divino. Esto es lo que pactamos unos con otros.
I was wondering why that was. A little bit different than a Catholic service. So I'm Father John Pedigo. I'm the executive director for PACT, People Acting in Community Together. We're 22 congregations, organizations, agencies that work together, a faith-based organization that this congregation has been a part of for many, many years. And we're proud to say, when I was the pastor at Our Lady of Guadalupe, we had engaged directly with y'all's congregation and bringing folks from our community that spoke only Spanish, going to a room full of güeritos, that means white folks, howlies like y'all, and it was, and they came in and they were sharing their story, and it was about the connection of heart to heart, right? You know, isn't that the most important thing? It was from that connection, heart to heart, that that members of the Unitarian community said, we want to walk with this community. We want to walk with those who are directly affected. And it was before it even became a thing. And the group of us from Our Lady of Guadalupe and the East Side that were working with immigrants, they themselves had immigration issues and challenges from that. We visited a bunch of Unitarian congregations up and down the coast. We just drove and stopped and shared our story. And that's organizing. Sharing our stories and opening our hearts and allowing empathy to happen between us. And that connection, that magical moment, that sacrament, as you call it, that allows us to be at one with each other. And that is the first step of solidarity. And that's what we do. And at PACT, it's not just about policy, it's about people. It's about how we connect. And Matthew asked if I should say a couple words in Spanish, and I'll just say this as a form of thank you to all of you. Queremos, de parte de la comunidad hispana, en la comunidad inmigrante, queremos dar un gran pues, agradecimiento a todos ustedes por su apoyo, por su acompañamiento, su solidaridad con nosotros. Queremos dar gracias a todos ustedes. Nos esperamos que podamos caminar juntos hasta la victoria que es igualdad entre nosotros mismos y un mundo, un universo donde todos se sienten bienvenidos y todos son incluidos. And so we work together and walk together until we can reach that universe and that community here where we are beloved to each other and we can achieve equity and justice for all people. Thank you.
So nice to be with you all. I'm Dana McGatt, the rabbi at Temple Emmanuel. I'm also, thank you so much, Father John. Along with my co-founders, like to ask them to stand up, Reverend Steve and Reverend Brian, and Reverend or Father John Pedigo, the four of us, along with your predecessor, that is Matthew's predecessor, Nancy Palmer Jones, we created the Silicon Valley Faith Leaders Collaborative a few years ago. And the goal of that group was to be a voice for the voiceless, to remind this community that every single person matters. Well, Matthew's already been part of our group, and you should be very proud of him already, and we are. And I just want to say how excited we are as a group, Matthew, to have you as a partner and as a colleague doing this incredible work, because so often we are concerned about what's happening, as we should be. But the only way we're going to get through this stuff is by working together. That's the only way we get through it. So thank you, Matthew. It's so an honor to be here with you.
Dear brothers and sisters, on this festive and significant moment, I greet you with love from the distant Homorúd-Szentmárton. Although physically distant, I am now with you in spirit, and I rejoice with you when you install your new minister. With the words of the Apostle Paul, I address you, dear friends. We ask you, brothers, to respect those who are laboring among you and who are over you in the Lord, and who admonish you, and to show esteem for them with special love on account of their work. Be at peace among yourselves. Respect and love the minister who came among you to build a community of love and peace together, the community from which you can draw strength, faith, and hope for your daily lives, the community where you can rest and be calm, where you can find security, where you can gain strength and courage for your struggles. My dear colleague McHale, every minister tries to serve his community the best he can. The important question is, how can I serve my congregation well? According to Jesus, a good shepherd is one who leads his followers with loving care and concern. The good shepherd, says Jesus, lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Dear brother, be an enthusiastic shepherd of your congregation. Act as the people's representative before God. We read in the book of Moses, and bring their disputes to God, enlighten them in regard to the statutes and instructions, showing them how they are to conduct themselves and what they are to do. My dear colleague, be a spiritual leader for your followers. Let them know the will of God, which is nothing other than love. May God bless and uphold your lives and your service together.
Story. Well, I've adapted the story from a tribe, the Skagit tribe of the Northwest, lifting the sky. This is my adaptation. Long, long ago, the sky was down, down to the earth. It was dark. It was cold. And the people said, ay, tenemos frío, we're cold. We're bumping into each other because we can't see. And some of them were bumping their heads because the sky was so low. And some were even climbing onto the sky, and that's not supposed to happen. They called up to the Creator. They said, por favor, ayúdanos, help us. And the Creator looked down and said, no, yo pienso que no. I don't think so. I want to see what you can do. So all the wise women and the wise women came together, and they talked. And they talked. And they talked. And finally one woman said, what we must do is find a word that will unite us all, and then we can lift the sky up. Oh, they started saying all these words like love and faith and kindness. And while they were saying this, there was a little old man in the corner, Mayan man, saying, en la quech, en la quech. En la quech, en la quech. And they turned to him and said, ¿Qué estás diciendo? What are you saying? En la quech. What does that mean? It means, you are my other me. Ah, we shall use those words. We shall learn those words. And I shall teach them to you right now. En, lak, ech. En, lak, ech. En, lak, ech. En, lak, ech. She said, now you must go and practice these words. And the women, they practice, en, lak, ech, in la catch. And the children practice, in la catch, in la catch, in la catch. And the men practice, in la catch, in la catch. They came all together and they said, we're ready. And she said, no, not yet. You have to go out and get poles to lift the sky as you say the words. So they all went out and they came back with poles and they were holding like this. Would you all do that with me, please? And she said, now what we're going to do is we're going to put the poles under the sky and we're going to say in la catch, and you all are going to do the same thing. I'm going to count to 3 and you're going to say in la catch and lift up. In la catch. That was good, but you got to do it louder. From the heart, the corazón. Again, 1, 2, 3. En la catch. Oh, that was much better. This time the mind and the heart together. 1, 2, 3. En la catch. Oh, that was wonderful. But one more time. Heart, mind, como una comunidad, like a community. As loud as you can go. En la catch. Oh, the sky started lifting. And as it was going up, there were some hunters chasing a rabbit. The rabbit jumped into the sky, and the hunters jumped it after it. And when the sky went up, they turned into stars. So it's important to remember to pay attention. And to remember when we do something with our heart and our mind, as a community, we can do wonderful things, like support Reverend Matthew and his time here in this church. Thank you.
All right. For those who don't know me, I'm Haley Price. I am the RE coordinator here at this lovely congregation. I would like to invite any RE kids that I have and Fee. Okay, I got River. I got one. And we would love to. River, do you want to go ahead and give the gift? We have this lovely gift for you, Reverend Matthew. It took a while for us to figure out what we wanted to do, but this was a definite huge project, and we are so excited to give this to you and welcome you to this congregation.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh. I imagine this might not be the only time I do this today. Thank you. Oh. I have to take a while to look at all this. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course. All righty, and then we are also singing our children out as well. So, River, do you mind helping me? And Reverend Matthew, can you help show our congregation what to do?
Gladly.
All right.
Good afternoon. I'm Roger Jones. I'm one of the co-ministers at the UU Society of Sacramento. It's wonderful to be with you for such a great occasion in the life of this congregation. Since my first ministry in the late 90s, just up the road at the Fellowship in Sunnyvale, I have been pleased to know all of the ministers who have served this congregation. And I'm so happy for Matthew and for you and for all of us that you and he are together. It is not merely customary for the offering at an installation or an ordination ceremony to be designated to support the Living Tradition Fund. It is an essential way that the Unitarian Universalist Association is able to replenish and sustain that important resource. Managed by the UUA, the Living Tradition Fund is available to support religious professionals in times of greatest need. For example, it funds need-based scholarships to theological students who are candidates for our ministry. The fund helps newer ministers to reduce the burden of high educational debt payments, enabling them to focus on their ministries without financial distress. In addition to all of that, the fund provides emergency assistance to ministers, religious professionals, and other congregational staff throughout our movement. This may include extraordinary medical expenses, counseling or coaching, emergency housing costs, or travel related to a death in the family or a health crisis. When retired ministers and their spouses encounter financial hardships, this fund is available for emergency grants. I have known friends whose families went through terrible ordeals, and this fund was a lifeline. Administered by staff at the UUA, the Living Tradition Fund is a vehicle that enables all of us to extend our compassion and our help to those who dedicate their lives to helping others through their ministries. Thank you for your consideration and for your generosity. If you're with us online, there's information on how you can give electronically through the website, or you can just mail a check here to First Unitarian Church. You can even drop an IOU in the offering basket if, like me, you left your checkbook in the car. The special offering will now be given and received. Thank you.
A reading by Adrienne Marie Brown. Humans' core function is love. Adrienne Marie Brown is an author, Black feminist, and social justice activist based in Detroit, Michigan. She says, "When we are engaged in acts of love, we humans are at our best and most resilient. The love in romance that makes us want to be better people. The love of children that makes us change our whole lives to meet their needs. The love of family that makes us drop everything to take care of them. The love of community that makes us work tirelessly with broken hearts. Perhaps humans' core function is love. Love leads us to observe in a much deeper way than any other emotion. If love were the central practice of a new generation of organizers and spiritual leaders, it would have a massive impact. If the goal was to increase the love rather than winning or dominating or constant opponent, I think we could actually imagine liberation from a constant oppression. We would suddenly be seeing everything we do, everyone we meet, not through the tactical eyes of war, but through eyes of love. We would see that there's no such thing as a blank canvas, an empty land, or a new idea, but everywhere there is fertile, complex, ancient ground, full of potential. We would understand that the strength of our movement is the strength of our relationships, which could only be measured by their depth. Scaling up would mean going deeper, being more vulnerable and more empathetic.
I bring greetings from the wild frontier of Redwood City. Some of you may have been there. Unitarian Universalists love questions. And we think questions, they can be life-transforming, they can reshape our worldview, they can be truly profound. Some questions are not. I was once asked, why were you born in Scotland? Very peculiar question to get asked, and I struggled to answer, and I eventually answered, I was young at the time and I wanted to be close to my mother. Perhaps this is a case of neither the question nor the answer being profound. But I guess the other question some of you may be asking is, what on earth is an installation? Well, the installation between a congregation and the minister is the formal act of entering into shared ministry. I think the best kind of analogy I can give you is an intimate relationship. You know, like when you're candidating, that's really like the dating part. And then when you called Matthew, that's kind of like the engagement. This is the wedding. That's why we're eating afterwards. But installation is in many ways a formal recognition, a public recognition, as is marriage, of the relationship, the covenantal relationship between Reverend Matthew and this congregation. And you're starting in this journey. And we always think of journeys as, we've got a destination, I'm going to head out there, I know exactly where I'm going, Matthew knows where he's going, we're going together, and we're just going to wander out there together. I want to give you a different spin on that. I came across this reading many years ago about the Aymara indigenous people in the Andes Mountains of Chile, And they have this idea that really just kind of blew my mind, that the past is in front of us. The future is behind us. And that actually makes sense because we know what happened in the past. We all may have different opinions of what happened in the past, but we think we know what happened, but we know whenever you get a bunch of Unitarian Universalists together, there's more opinions than people. But we think we know what happened in the past. And I thought that was a really powerful idea, that the past is in front of us and the future is behind us. And then I thought about that. I thought, that means we walk backwards into the past. Now, walking backwards is not easy. I'm going to demonstrate, but I'm a trained professional, so don't try this at home. But you can't quite see where your feet are going, and you can't really see where you're going. So you're kind of walking backwards like this. And it's really kind of disconcerting. Now you're all really confused. They're all really terrified what I'm about to do next. But you walk backwards into the future, and that is a journey that you and Matthew are going to be going on. You may have the clear goals together. You may have different ideas of where you should go. But the important thing is you're doing it together, because we need one another. Because he may walk off a cliff like a lemming. Don't let him do that. And if they're walking off a cliff, Matthew, don't let them do that. But you're going to walk backwards into your future together. And that's okay, because it's an uncertain world out there. And I often hear, and my own congregation did this, we want a minister who loves them. That's perfectly reasonable. But do you want to love Matthew? That's a relationship. He will love you. I know Matthew. I've not got to know him well over this last year, and he's been a fabulous colleague, and I feel loved by him. But will you return that love to him? Because that's what I'm and my colleagues here are trying to do. Now, love is a complex word. It's overloaded. And I noticed in your mission statement for the First Unitarian Church of San Jose, it says, bound together by a commitment to make love visible. We gather to deepen our spirits, to work for justice, and to create one sacred family. And I have to say, when I first read that, I thought it said one scared family. Sadly, that's easy to find these days. But one sacred family. I think that's a beautiful mission statement you have, and I love that idea of making love visible. Because that's saying love is there. If we seek it, if we are open to it, love is there. Now, questions are good. But one of the most useless questions, I think, is, do you believe in God? I don't think you can answer that meaningfully. Do you saying yes to the theistic Christian God, the Hindu Brahman, Gaia, the universal consciousness from our transcendentalist forebears? And if you say no, are you saying no to wonder, awe, God is love? Yes and no questions are not spiritually rich. So the questions I often present to my congregation is, what do you love and what breaks your heart? What do you love and calls you to live life fully? And what breaks your heart and calls you to action? Those are richer explorations, and I want to try and explore those in the course of this sermon. Because we hear love talked about all the time. When our movement changed Article 2 last year, we centered love. Our universalist tradition centers the love of all humanity at the center of our faith. But is love enough given our current situation? Our current political situation is very challenging. And is love naive in our response to that? We see these challenges to democracy, we see this existential threat of climate change, we see racism, we see transphobia, we see sexism. We see homophobia. We see increased economic inequality. Is love enough? And then I'm sure many of us were heartbroken to see the National Guard coming out in LA over the last weekend in response to protests against what was seen as obtrusive and unnecessary government interference. And I look at all this stuff going on in the world, and I know Unitarian Universalists are not supposed to believe in heaven and hell, but I think, what the hell? Why is life like this way? And how should we respond? Because that's what questions do. How are we going to respond to life being this way? And one of my favorite stories around that comes from Rachel Naomi Remen and her fabulous book, My Grandfather's Blessing. It's the story of a young boy, 14, and he's diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. And his response is, why is life like that way? Why is this unfair thing happening to me? And he reacted towards his diagnosis like a caged animal. He didn't follow his diet. He did not take his medication. He threw himself against the illness, denying it for 3 years. His family were devastated. They got him into therapy. He was in therapy for 6 months, and he wasn't making progress. And then one day, in a kind of dreamlike state in therapy, he got this image of the Buddha. There's a Buddha as a young man, like maybe his age. He was 17 at the time. And, David wasn't religious, but he lived in California, so he knew what the Buddha looked like. And he felt this peace and calm come over him. And then all of a sudden, this knife came from over his shoulder and went into the Buddha's heart, piercing like that diagnosis of juvenile diabetes. And again, David said, why is life like this? Why is life unfair to me? And ever so slowly, almost imperceptibly at the time, he saw that the Buddha started to grow. Slowly at first, an expression in the Buddha's face did not change, but he continued to grow and grow, and his heart continued to grow and grow. But the knife remained the same size until it was but a speck. And that's when David realized that was the Buddha's response to the knife. To grow in capacity to that wound, to grow in its capacity to love, to grow in capacity to compassion, to grow in its capacity of kindness. That was the Buddha's response to the knife. And I think it's so important for all of us, but especially for Unitarian Universalists, to put a spiritual identity at the center of who we are and not just a political one. Because I don't think having a political identity is enough to get us go through the hard times we're going through and the hard times we're about to go through. Because a spiritual identity gives us hope. It gives us kindness, it gives us compassion, it gives us the capacity and the inspiration to keep going with the justice work. Justice is important, politics is important, but we need to put a spiritual identity at the center of who we are. And we've got the guidance for that. Our UUA bylaws, he said, love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values: pluralism, interdependence, generosity, justice, equity, and transformation. Those are the values that we need to put at the center, not the win-loss of politics, because we had a horrible situation in San Mateo County where many in the congregation worked to get a new sheriff elected, and some of you may have heard, I know Redwood City's way up in the north, but the sheriff has become corrupt, and we're heartbroken at that. We cannot rely on our politicians. We need to rely on our religious values. And ultimately, our religious values will help us transform ourselves through the search for meaning and transform the world through acts of love. Transform ourselves through the search for meaning and transforming the world through acts of love. And we have a great benefit being a religious community because we are an intergenerational community. And it was lovely to see the Time for All Ages here, so thank you for doing that as part of an installation service because it doesn't always happen. But we are an intergenerational community, and that gives us a wonderful gift because everything we do will last well beyond our lives here because we are an intergenerational community. And I want to give you a model that I found really interesting, and it comes from the Quaker sociologist Eli Boulding. And she talks about the 200-year present. That we really should think of the present as 200 years. And I want to explore that a little bit with you. And I think of the hand of the oldest person you've ever touched who influenced you. And think of the hand of the youngest person you've ever touched who influenced you. I'll give you my example. My maternal gran, Anne Burgess, was born January 1st, 1900. I thought that was the coolest birthday because every year that was her age. And I really hoped she'd make it to the millennium, but she died at 93. So she was born 1st of January 1900. My mother, Margaret Ferguson, was born 1931. I was born in 1962. I know I look a lot younger. You didn't have to laugh that much. My daughter was born 2003. If she has a child, 2030, that child, perhaps my daughter, will live to 2100. 1900 to 2100. That's 200 years present. What we do now will impact 2100. When River was here earlier, she's 9. She could make it to 2100. What we do and influence her. And it's not just our own families, it's an intergenerational community. We can influence our children to impact 2100. And this church has been around since 1865. 160 years. What they did, we are influenced by today with Matthew's installation. What are we going to do now to influence 160 years from now? I'll give you to just 75 years. What we're going to do is going to influence 2100. Because I think given the political situation, given the climate change, what we do now matters. Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Matthew Luther King says, power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice is at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. We are called as Unitarian Universalists to address the racism, the oppressions in our society. What we do now matters, because my gran that I talked about, I would love to say she was a caring, loving woman. She was not. She was racist. She was sexist against my mum. She stopped my mum going to college, even though she was valedictorian of a high school. Now, she grew up in a coal mining family. She was put on coal fires from 91, and she was still 91. She was a bigot. But I know she loved me, and I loved her. And that's an important lesson for us, because as Unitarian Universalists, we hold everyone in love. Even if we might hold some people further away than others, we hold everyone in love. That's why I believe that I think love is enough at this time. Holding people in love means you respect them. It means that you've got their welfare. It means they've got dignity. It doesn't really mean you like them. I loved my gran. I didn't always like her. And I know my mum often didn't like her. And I think my daughter loves me. I'm not sure she always likes me, but such is the role of a parent. But can we love powerfully and use power lovingly? That's a challenge from Martin Luther King in that. And I ask each of you to think, what power do you have? Because myself, as a straight, white, older male, cisgender male, I carry a lot of privilege. I carry a lot of access to places where others don't go. And I can't give up that privilege. That privilege gets granted to me every day, whether I want it or not. But how can I open doors that are maybe not available to others? How can I call attention to the absence of people who are not there, who should be there, who we may be discussing their welfare, but they're not at the table? Can I call their absence? I know that's the type of work that PACT does, who we heard the speakers from earlier. Can we amplify the voices of those whose voices are diminished because of the marginalization over hundreds of years? That is what we are called to do as a community. That's what we are called to do as individuals. That's what Matthew's called to do as a religious leader in this community, to call attention to those injustices. And sometimes what we love and what breaks our heart is the same thing. I want to share a story from my own life. Back in San Francisco Church, and Kurt, you may remember this, a young man came to the congregation. He was 26. His name was Nathan Sistoni. And I became good friends with him. I was the first person he met at the church. And I either must have been really quiet on my best behavior because he came back the next week. And Nathan turned out to be this gregarious, smart, funny, really engaging person. He also was a transgender man who was estranged from his family for the last 4 years. And he found a great home there. And I remember after he'd been there about 6 months or 9 months, I asked him, would you like to be a worship associate and help lead worship? And he looked at me and suspiciously he said, do you think the congregation's ready for a transgender worship associate? I said, is that the reason you're asking me? Have you got a different political reason for doing this? I said, well, I do have a different political reason, but that's not it. I'm asking you because I think you're smart, articulate, and you're 27 years old, and you'll be the youngest worship associate you have. Currently, I am, and I'm 42. So I do have another reason. And he laughed, and then he started crying. I'm like, I thought I'd said something wrong. Why are you crying? He goes, that's what I love about this community. They see me as a whole person. Sometimes I need to be reminded of my own humanity. Sometimes I need to be reminded of my own humanity. That is what a loving, inclusive, pluralistic, religious community can do. That is the love part of the story. The part of broke my heart came next. But 4 or 5 weeks after that, I got a call from Reverend John Robinson, who was the interim minister at the time, to let me know that Nathan had been killed in a car accident. A driver was going the wrong way down 101. It happened up at Millbrae area on 101. No drugs, no alcohol, just a mistake. And hit Nathan and killed him almost instantly. It was heartbreaking. And he was supposed to be giving the reflection the next Sunday at church, and Reverend John Robertson asked me and a few other people to read the reflection. And it was such a hopeful, inspiring reflection. He had found his religious community. 2 weeks previous, he'd just reconciled with his mother, who he'd been estranged from for 4 years. You know, he described himself, this self-effacing human, he said, "I'm a cross-eyed, transgender dork, but God loves me." It was a beautiful reflection. Me and some of the other worship associates read it. And there was tears. But you're left there with a kind of joy, like, this is what religious community can be. This is why Unitarian Universalist is great. This is why I am part of this community. This is why I'm going to become a minister. Then I went home. And someone had sent me the article from the paper. And I read through it all. And then at the very end, it said, the coroner identifies Nathan as a woman. Oh. I had known Nathan as a young man. And I don't really blame the coroner. Maybe he needed to do that. But why did the newspaper reporter have to report that? Is it? And I look now, and so at that time, when I heard that, when I was so angry, I said, I am going to commit in my ministry, in my life, to be a supporter of the transgender community. Because of my privilege, because of my power. And you may have your own different story that you want to commit to, but commit to something, because what the world needs is people to commit to something. And I served in Texas for 12 years, and I think we all know what's happening to so much of the transgender community in Texas. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So what can we do in San Jose, in Redwood City, in the Bay Area for people, transgender folk that have been horrendously discriminated against, who are being made illegal in the state of Texas? It's not the time for a casual faith. It's a time for a fierce, courageous, committed faith as a community. What is the cause? What do you love? What breaks your heart? What calls you to action? That's for you as a community with Reverend Matthew to decide, what do you want to commit to going forward? Is it doubling down on what we're already doing? Is it doing something else? That's what you have to decide in this journey, walking backwards into the future. What do you want to start now, walking back into the future, that's going to have an impact in the 2100s? Because as an intergenerational community, that is our impact. It's said that for true transformation, you need to replace it with its opposite. For true transformation, you need to replace it with the opposite. We have so much fear, hatred, distrust, hostility right now to so many historically marginalized groups. And I believe that love used with courage, with fierceness, and with commitment can be enough. Because love is our transformative, our pluralistic, our interdependent, equitable, just, and generous love is the antidote to so much of what's going on in the world. May we use our power lovingly and our love powerfully. And may we be the incarnation of our highest values of love, compassion, and justice. And my hope is that we flood the hearts of the community with a radical love that amplifies the goodness in our world, the empathy, the reverence, the compassion, the care, the cooperation, and purpose. May each of us pass on fierce, passionate, and courageous love to the generations to come. Blessed be, and amen.
close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my home. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care if they call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world would be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.
I'm Ram Kakarala, and I volunteer as the president of this congregation. I've been volunteering in this role for 6 years, and the privilege of being in this role. Oh, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. That's another privilege, but the one I want to talk about today, the privilege of being in this role for this long, is you get to take part in something wonderful and special, and that is the installation of a new minister. The last installation in this church was long before I joined the church. I don't even know when. Some of you have been here longer. So 19 years. 19 years. So, but one of the great things is that I have a part, but all of us have a part. And your parts are in the insert in the order of service. And at the appropriate times, please join in for that part.
And on the screen.
And on the screen. Okay. One of the most cherished capacities of our UU congregations is their right to make their own decisions in calling a minister, rather than ceding that authority to a diocese or a district office somewhere. And when that call is made, only the ministers themselves can decide which ministry, which congregation speaks most truly to their own passions and personal truths. First Unitarian Church of San Jose has been led by a wide array of ministers from many backgrounds, and we pride ourselves on both the strength and insight of our ministers. As our newest settled minister, you are no exception to that tradition. For many years, we have welcomed people into our congregation. We ask them to share their hopes and goals with us, to shake us up with their honest thinking, and to commit heartily to this workshop of our common dreams. Installing you as our minister, we rely on you not only to meet us on those terms, but to lead us forward in a turbulent world whose challenges we can rarely anymore predict. Reverend Matthew, do you join us in covenant today, pledging to travel with us along the mysterious paths of the future, helping us to nurture and strengthen the fire of commitment in our hearts?
I do. I pledge to continue the ministry I've already begun here, working with you to celebrate and encourage the diversity of heritages, cultures, beliefs, and experiences shaping our individual visions of truth. We shall work together to translate our compassion into sharing, our longings for peace and justice into action. We shall challenge ourselves to live our Unitarian Universalist values by bringing healing and hope to the wider community. We shall honor the transcendent mystery of creation by nurturing the planet and all who live upon it. Bound together by our commitment to making love visible, we gather to deepen our spirits, to work for justice, and to create one sacred family. I joyfully enter further ministry with you, speaking with truth, compassion, and vision as we work for a world of love, with more love and justice.
Let the next passage be spoken by the members of this congregation. And let the next passage be spoken jointly by all those who have come to celebrate with us here today.
The beloved community thrives in the presence of good friends and moves forward thanks to the presence of a visionary minister. We celebrate the installation of Reverend Matthew McHale at the First Unitarian Church of San Jose and share the work of this congregation to make love visible in all we say and do. We wish for those gathered here today
By these words, Reverend Matthew, you're hereby installed. May this moment reaffirm our covenant to each other. In the words of Gordon B. McKeeman, let us carry with us what is precious to all, reverence for all life, beauty that displays itself in love, deep, abiding peace. One more. I would like to convey two appreciations from people who work with Reverend Matthew and work to bring Reverend Matthew here. First, Reverend Matthew works with the Operations and Management Council and the Board of Directors, and we are pledged to work with him to build a successful ministry for this church. And we are very grateful that he's here to work with us. As a token of that, I have a card signed on behalf of the Operations and Management Council by our COO, Jan Tice-Guffey, and also signed on behalf of our Board of Directors by myself. Reverend Matthew, here's the card.
On behalf of the OMC, we are so glad you and your family are here! Exclamation mark. In love and fellowship, Jan Tice-Guffey. We are delighted that you are here. We look forward to the many wonderful days together. On behalf of the Board of Directors, Ram Kakarala.
And I would also like to mention that our amazing, wonderful search committee, successful search committee, would also like to give appreciation to Reverend Matthew, and I'd like to invite members of that search committee, co-chaired by Carolyn Bowman and Jenny Redfern.
Do you want to use that mic or this mic?
I'll use this. Reverend Matthew. Well, I guess I need to stay here, don't I? Okay. Our whole committee was so delighted to interview you and realize he's it. And then be able to invite you, and you said yes. And we're all here today and loving every moment of it. And it didn't occur to me that any of us was going to have to say anything, but the opportunity presents itself. So if my committee will allow me, because
we allow you.
You allow me? Thank you. Those of you who know me know that I tend to think of events and people in terms of music. And so I was thinking, you know, what if this were an old-fashioned church 200 years ago? What kind of music would someone have selected to go with this? And immediately I thought of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the Ode to Joy. And particularly because our mission is making love visible. There's a line, and if you'll forgive my moderate German, Deine Zauber bindet wieder, was die Mode streng geteilt. And the translation is, your magic binds together what the times tear apart. But I want to translate that a bit to, your being able to make love visible helps us bind together what the times tear apart. So, thank you.
And here's a little something you might want to open and kind of replace your ring.
So much anticipation. I almost want to, wait, hold on.
Hold on.
There we go.
We're going to keep you in store for a while.
All right, beautiful.
And I have to give a shout out to Joe Balzer, who made the beautiful stole.
Perfect. It's like you knew I was going to be wearing purple. I think it works well.
And there's a card.
And there's a card. Should I open the card now, or is it? It seems like there's a lot of words in there, but maybe I couldn't tell.
Well,
All right.
the most important thing about the card is that the design was made by Frank Ferris, another one of our congregational members, a mathematician and a mathematical artist. Okay?
Thank you so much.
There you go.
Woo. Oh, great.
I choose you.
Matthew, would you come on up here? Thought we could talk over this pulpit here for a moment. No, this is good. This magic pulpit. How did that work? Just I'm jealous. This is cool. Okay, but wait, how do you get back down? You gotta go like this. Wow. All right, so we're gonna talk over this pulpit that will be your potter's wheel. It will be your artist's canvas, this pulpit that will hold you up days that you are not sure of your own strength, this pulpit that will demand of you more than you care to give some Sundays. I want to talk to you at this pulpit about love, unsurprisingly. And the first thing I want to say about love, Matthew, is that I realize that I love you. I love you, I realize, because I was willing to come down to San Jose on a Sunday afternoon in June, which, if you don't know, Unitarian Universalist ministers, our tradition in June is to stop working. We get a little crispy at this end of the church year. I was feeling that crispiness, and yet I came here to your installation because I love you, Matthew, and I'm in it with you. Because I'm committed, like you are, to ensuring that Unitarian Universalism thrives here in the Bay Area in the year 2025. And I don't think we know if it can or not. It may be a fool's errand that we're on. But I know that you, like me, love this tradition enough to go on that fool's errand. I know you, like me, grew up loved by these people, formed by this faith, and are willing to give your life to help make it thrive. So first, as an aside, never have an installation in June again. Take your time off, every day of it that's granted to you. Care for the core commitments of your life, your family, and your own well-being before all else. And then love the hell out of this tradition. Love Unitarian Universalism like our lives depend on it. Love your colleagues. Show up for our gatherings as you do. Give of your ministry to our faith, that we might all receive the blessing of that childlike wonder that I admire in all that you do. That willingness to go hit the drums during your own installation. Let that childlike wonder lead not only your ministry, but Unitarian Universalism. Love Unitarian Universalism, Matthew, but more than Unitarian Universalism, love these people who you serve. Love your congregation and the people who come in the doors more than you love our tradition. Love each one of them enough to tell them the truth, not just the truth that you come up with in a beautiful sermon to preach, but the truth of how you really feel, of what's really going on inside. Trust them enough to share it, and trust them enough to share the ministry. Give it away. Let them lead and share their gifts. Get somebody else to come hit the drums sometimes.
Actually, I'm the drummer here.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Well,
My first day playing the drums, like for the whole thing, was this morning. So that, anyway.
Well, love that too. But more than Unitarian Universalism and more even than these people who you serve, Matthew, love the holy. I charge you to love your call, whether it's to play the drums or fiddle with the order of service or tend the dirt outside your door. love your call and the holy above all else. It may be a fool's errand that we're on, but your childlike wonder is needed, and also your gardener's sense of responsibility. Together, I trust that these will serve our faith and the future in this world so desperately in need. Matthew, I do love you, and I love your ministry.
It's special to be able to participate in this installation today, having been installed myself here quite a long time ago. And now being installed more as a member of the congregation and about the second or third row back, right about in there. I've looked at ministry from both sides now. But while I'm somewhat of an independent spirit, I lean towards being an introvert. Even though I'm kind of an introvert, I'm a true believer when it comes to the importance of institutions. And I continue to believe in the importance of congregations, having served in a congregation, having served at the legislative ministry, and having served in our seminary, Star King School for the Ministry. As well as believing in the importance of congregations, I'm so grateful for this particular congregation, First Unitarian Church of San Jose. When I have needed the courage and commitment to live out my principles more fully, being part of an active faith community makes a difference. Now, a couple weeks ago, on a Sunday afternoon, my wife, Mary Helen, and I were directly across the street over there at St. James Park, enjoying one of the free Sunday afternoon concerts that's hosted by Pavilion. I recommend it, check it out. And we're there sitting in our lawn chairs, soaking up the music, watching the crowd with the toddlers running around and the seniors swaying. And I just kind of glance across the street, and there's our church, like right there, strutting a fresh paint job and a brand new roof. And I'm thinking, Unitarian, you guys are looking pretty fly. To realize that you made this happen while emerging from the challenge of COVID, and when the congregation during much of the time of the planning and work was between settled ministers, it's truly impressive. Congratulations, and thank you. The idea of planting a Unitarian church in San Jose started a little bit after the Civil War. And then congregants later laid the first cornerstone in 1891. When we opened it in 92, there was a sermon in there about these troubled economic times, just so you know. And so in 1892, they began worshiping here. And so when I think about the history of this place and all of the turbulence and wonderfulness and small attendance and large attendance and so broke that they thought that they were going to be given over to the Unitarian Association. I mean, this church, if you read its history, it's had ups and downs. But in the midst of all those ups and downs, they just hung in there through a couple of major earthquakes, world wars, the AIDS crisis, the fire of 1995, and the isolation of COVID. And now here we are in the heart of Silicon Valley with the tech industry continuing to change the distribution of wealth and power, the nature of work, and the understanding of what community is. The strength of our congregation lifts our spirits, holds our sorrows, passes values from generation to generation, and inspires us to act. So when I think about charge, I'm not so sure if it's charge or if it's plug it in, charge because you're running low on your batteries. But there's three things that I would advise. One is, when we first started here, Ben was 9 months old, and he was the only child up in the nursery, and there was hardly anybody in the social hall.
I think there were 2 people in the youth group. Don't panic when your kids are not there. Just keep investing, keep being steady, keep inviting, keep working towards building the strength of the children and their parents. I read a book, because that's what you do when you're in ministry, called 12 Habits for Highly Effective Ministers or something along those lines. And the one thing that stuck with me was it said, don't go chasing after everything that you're not doing well yet. So don't forget what I just said, but don't go chasing after everything. Build on your strength. That's true for congregations as well. Notice your strengths and build on them. And then lastly, I remember being on a clergy trip to Colomoncagua, which is in Honduras, right across the border from El Salvador. It was in the midst of the horrible civil wars going on. And it was quite, I was there with a small interfaith clergy group. And the thing that most impressed me, both at the refugee camp, which had tens of thousands of people in it, and then later in El Salvador, back in the churches where we were connected, was the celebratory nature of what was going on. People refused to let their joy die. So when you are getting to those places where it's just feeling kind of like another committee meeting or whatever, do something fun. Please, be a church that's fun. Be a church that loves each other. Be a church that cares about its kids. And be a church that builds on what you already do well. So can you join me in a charge? You ready? 1, 2, 3. Charge!
What a marvelous selection. What a marvelous experience. Woo. So good afternoon, friends. See, having accepted into the hall the ministerial celebrants, having been called to worship, and having taken all the other ritual steps common to this faith to install a minister, welcoming, stories, readings, music and singing, the good word of a sermon, the ritual act of installation itself, the gracious bestowing of gifts, and the two challenges, the charges given to Reverend Matthew and to you all. Having followed that flow, we arrive here now, where Reverend Matthew will offer his closing benediction and step officially into the circle of this community, fully grounded now in your love, in the affirmation of his colleagues, and in this, the no-holds-barred, committed choice that he has made to join this congregation as servant leader, as partner in the good work of love and justice in a nation and a world that so desperately needs it. Well, before Reverend Matthew offers his benediction, it is ritually time-honored. It is theologically warranted, and it is communally necessary to have a blessing laid down upon, a prayer offered over this collaborative ministry and Reverend Matthew. Now stay with me. It is time-honored, it is warranted, it is necessary to offer a prayer, a blessing, in order to bring a deeper, wider, more comprehensive power to bear to support this shared collaborative ministry. We open to such a prayer so that the deep needs of safety and belonging, of self-esteem and autonomy, and of understanding and stability, all of which are the very grounding needs that every new being must have fulfilled in order to thrive, be it a child or a relationship, a congregation, or a minister. We offer, you see, this moment, this sacred encounter, so that those needs will do something, and what they will do is evolve and grow into trust, authenticity, clarity, mature confidence, and love. The true signs of a mature person, a mature community, a mature ministry. So to follow that profound trajectory of growth and evolutionary development, as I said, it is necessary to step through the door of blessing and prayer. So together, let us do that now. Join with me as we go deep and ground ourselves here. May we feel and know the momentous power of this congregation to collectively choose. May we celebrate and bless that this congregation, you all, exercise that choice, that power of choosing, and call this minister Reverend Matthew to collaborate in the sacred and necessary work that you are called to do in the city of San Jose, the county of Santa Clara, the wider Bay Area, and indeed beyond. May we celebrate and bless also that Reverend Matthew answered the call to what was commissioned to him to do. So we reach deep now in this time of prayer, of blessing, into the deep well of life and being, so that this collaborative team of minister and congregation can fully become a beacon of hope and strength and light, facing into this difficult, chaotic time where a horrendous polycrisis sweeps across the entire planet, threatening all ecosystems and all of life. May your beacon of hope and strength be ever more possible, because together you have come to deeply know and live the reality that love has never, will never abandon us. Love will never abandon us. May you be creative. May you be compassionate. May you be courageous. You are so needed. Utakayeo masim, Hashem and Amin, shalom and blessed be.
I don't know about you, but even from this side of the room, I've been smelling that Indian food cooking. And so the people over there, like by the window, must be just totally salivating. So I don't want to hold you too much longer before we get to that. But I want to invite you to rise in body or in spirit for our benediction. To make a connection with someone nearby you. Maybe that's taking hands or bumping elbows or touching a shoulder, making a connection. To those of you joining us on Zoom, I invite you to send your energy to us as we send it back to you. And let me extinguish our chalice. Our chalice is extinguished. May we carry with us the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of service. Our flaming chalice means little if its light never shines beyond these walls. May we take that light out into our lives, into the streets, into the world. We live in difficult times, circumstances that break our hearts. Let us turn towards each other then, knowing that we are the ones we've been waiting for. Let our prayer for this world be making love visible as we bring hope to the weary.